Great idea.
Go ahead.
Okay. So anyways, the first study is where we do initial scan, and then we give them Oracare, and then we scan after a couple of weeks, and then we do a cleaning and see just what the patient is able to shrink down to, so that we can have an understanding of how well Oracare can shrink the gums for these patients compared to what's possible, and see, how much tooth we can uncover so that we can, move the teeth properly. The other project, we're talking about using clear aligners as a function of mouth taping, holding the mouth shut with clear aligners and elastics so that we can help with nasal breathing. And at the same time, we're also looking at making the nose patent using one of Rick's nasal sprays so that we can shrink the nasal tissue and decrease nasal resistance and increase airflow. So we already know that using nasal hygiene, we're able to shrink that tissue and we're able to breathe through the nose much easier. We also know that breathing through the nose induces a few reflexes, like holding the tongue up and forward, and holds those pharyngeal constrictor muscles open, so that breathing through your nose gives you a decreased risk of having sleep apnea. Okay. So what we're looking at is that last study, kind of splitting them up into two. What we can do with holding the mouth shut, and then doing a nasal hygiene routine, and seeing what that nasal hygiene routine gets us.
Well, I think you're going to need a control, so you're going to probably have to do nasal with just saline, and then another group with the Oracare product, just so they can say, well, we followed the same thing, but the chemical was different that we were putting in the nose. Otherwise, there's no way to prove that there was any benefit. Same thing in the first study. You're going to basically have to have them do everything without using the product as your control group.
Okay, so
you have
sham
something
rinse.
to compare to. I'm sorry?
A sham rinse?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that has no chemical. It's just saline or whatever it is that has no reactive agents in it.
Okay.
Okay.
You're going to also probably need at least 6 people in each group.
Which I
Just
guess
so that
saltwater rinse people are used to believing might work. A saline rinse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So an N of 6.
Yeah, you're going to need at least 6 people in the control group and 6 people in the study group to be able to have something at least to compare. So you'll need a minimum of that. Depending on how long you're going to do the study over, you may want to increase that a little bit, so that if you have 1 or 2 people that don't make it to the end of the study, you're still above that number 6.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Greg, would you explain to Jeff?
And that's 6 controls and 6 patients?
Yes, in the study group, yes.
Okay.
So like I said, you're going to
12.
probably, how long of a period do you think, starting it and to the end of it, will each patient be going?
About a month, a month for it, because they come in and then we have them, use the rinse for 2 weeks, and then we scan and clean, and then we wait 2 weeks after the cleaning for the other scan. So,
okay. I mean, a month, I think you're not going to really lose anybody in a month. If you're going 3-4 months or longer, you tend to have people drop out, or it just gets inconvenient for them. A month is not going to be a bad period of time.
Sure. And then kind of what I'm thinking is I move the teeth and do a sleep study, and then I hold them in a nasal breathing pattern for a month, and then we start doing nasal hygiene for a month, and test after that. What are we requiring for the control of that, the airway elastics group, as well as the nasal hygiene?
I think if you're doing it with a month without, as you described, without the nasal chemical stuff, I think that you could probably have a group where you're using some type of saline for the nasal spray.
Okay.
This way you're saying, all right, everything is the same in the groups. The only difference is what they're spraying up the nose.
Gotcha. Okay.
Greg, would you tell him the timeline it takes, the 3 months and the 6 months that you were mentioning to me?
There's indexed versus non-indexed, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with what the difference is between
Nope.
them.
No idea.
Non-indexed would be like Dentistry Today, Inside Dentistry, Dental Product Shopper, Dental Product. It basically is going out to a lot of people see it, but and it usually you're talking about 3 to 4 months before you get it published. The thing is that it's index is different. Index would be like Compendium or some of these other journals, goes through the peer review process. It could take 6 months to get through peer review. It could be another 6 months or so before it's ever published. And the reason was during the pandemic, some of the publications that are indexed went out of business because they just couldn't financially hold themselves up. So what's happening is the ones that are still around are swamped with submissions, and they can only put so many in an issue.
Right.
So what happens is it's taking a long time. I'll give you an example. We had something accepted in February to the Journal of Perio and Restorative Dentistry, and they
Okay.
told us right off the bat. She goes, "Yes, it's accepted and everything. It'll be about a year before you see it actually in print." The difference with indexed is it shows up. You can go to PubMed or something like that, do a search on your name or the article topic, and it'll come up. So researchers see that, but you're talking very few people actually see it. With a lot of stuff, you want a combination between indexed because it gives you visibility. The non-index gives you visibility. The index gives you a little bit more credibility because you can say, here, it went through blind peer review, it got accepted, yada, yada, yada. The key also is you got to be a little open-minded with peer review stuff because you're gonna submit it. They're gonna have 2 people at least peer review it. They may come back with suggestions. The key is you just incorporate the suggestions because I think it makes it a better paper anyway.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, what they're suggesting the peer reviewers makes sense. I just did
Yeah.
one. We had submitted, the peer reviewers came back with suggestions. One of the ones I went through incorporate. The other guy, some of the stuff is totally ridiculous. And I
Yeah.
addressed that with the editor in chief saying, all right, I did all these things. These 3 things are totally ridiculous. They have nothing to do with the topic there whatsoever. That would be a totally different paper that should go into. So usually, and it's interesting because some of the peer reviewers really get super picky. And I had a discussion with somebody today that's an editor at one of the publications. And I said, well, we incorporated the revisions. We sent it back. He sent it out to somebody totally different to have them review it again. I said, my opinion is have the same people review it because they're the ones that looked at it, said, I want these changes. Let them look at it again. It's like starting from scratch and send it out to somebody new.
Yeah.
He goes, well, I didn't think of that. I'm like, okay. So it sometimes gets to be a challenge. There is a process. You have to understand the process. One person I did something with, we sent it out. I explained the process to him. 2 weeks after we submitted it, he contacts me. So when is it being published? I go, I told you it's indexed. It could take 6 months or more. Okay. 2-3 weeks later, he contacts me, and it's been like that every 3 weeks. It's like, I keep telling you, it's like it takes a while. It's not sinking in with this guy, but he gets a little impatient, and you got to have patience with this stuff.
Let me ask a question. Is it taboo to publish non-indexed and then submit it to peer review for indexed? The same
It
article?
can't be the same article because when you submit, whether it's indexed or non-indexed, you have to tell them this has not been submitted or published anywhere else.
All right.
So you can take something and you could retitle it and reword it and then submit it somewhere else.
Sure.
So that's that's always a possibility. The key also is you have to decide where you want to submit it in the first place because all journals format their articles differently.
Sure.
So you want to format it the way they want it because it's more likely to get through the process that way.
All right. Jeff, you wanted an IRB. What was the purpose in getting an IRB?
Because I was told to do so, because we're doing human experimentation.
You're gonna need that for index articles. Non-index, you're really not gonna need that. For index, they're gonna probably ask for an IRB.
Okay, so he
And I
gave me a
sent
reference.
Rick a thing, a company that does that.
Okay, so we have that, Jeff. Just want you to know.
Okay.
We can do an IRB. Okay, and then go over your fees, Greg.
My fee is $3,000 per article. I'll deal with the publisher you're choosing. You know what the term ghostwriting is?
Yeah.
I don't ghostwrite. I am listed as one of the authors. You'll be listed as the first author. I just don't like, it
Sure.
rubs me the wrong way to ghostwrite.
Yeah.
So I
No,
don't
you
care
deserve
where in
credit
the
for what
order
you're doing.
I am. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you deserve credit for what you're
Yeah.
doing.
That's right.
And, I built the name up over the years, so it also helps draw them into the article saying, oh, Kurtzman did this article. Let's read it and see what it is. So that helps.
Mhm.
So my fee is, and I work on a retainer basis, it's $3,000 per article. And that'll include dealing with everything with the publisher. So once we submit it and when they kick it back and say, hey, we got questions and stuff, I'll deal with all that. So what happens is you send me your bullet points, any images and the information. I will put together the draft. Any questions I have, I'll ask. Then what will happen is we'll send you I'll send you the final draft. You make any edits in that. So when we submit something, we're all on board with everything.
Mhm.
So you say, I'm happy with what he's submitting. I'm aware of everything that's in there. There's no guesswork in that.
Sure.
All right, so I think I can convince Dr. Martino to cover some of the expenses on this project, Jeff.
Yeah.
Especially with the mouth rinse. I don't know about the nasal rinse. What about Candid? Are they going to be willing to purchase or fund some of this on the nasal program at all?
Yeah, they said that they'd be willing to help chip in on the airway elastics.
Sure. Okay. Good.
So I'm just trying to, because they said that they'd get the IRB.
They would get the IRB.
Yeah, they said that they'd be willing to pay for the IRB is what
Both
is.
articles or just one of them?
They said that we can get their main writer. Have you ever heard of Jim Sieg, Greg?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Or Propel Orthodontics.
Okay.
He was the main paper writer for Propel, and now he's at Candid. So he said that we can get one IRB that covers both, and then and that gets us, where we need to go essentially.
That's great.
So,
all right.
and then we can cut that IRB up into 2 studies.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. That sounds good.
I mean, the one I was going to say something and it's sort of slipping in my mind now. I'll probably think of it when we disconnect, but
Okay.
I mean, it's all a process and everything. When a company's involved, you'll edit it, I'll incorporate, then we send it on to the company, let them do the same thing. So that everybody is happy when it gets submitted.
Sure.
Yep. Sounds
So
good.
basically what we're looking at is the final paper has to be about 1,800 words, not including any references. I'll find
Mhm.
references to back everything up. And we're limited to about 18 pictures and tables.
Okay.
So I always say, whatever pictures you have, send everything to me. Let me pick out the best pictures that will go with it.
Sure.
I'm a visual storyteller. So I need the pictures and stuff. And then I put them in the order. Then I start telling the story, jumping from picture to picture.
Okay.
Is there
Works
any
for me.
restriction, the fact that Jeff will be doing all these experiments in his office? Is there any restriction about him being a biased observer?
No, because you're basically doing you're presenting a study, so it's not a problem. And that's why we also have controls.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. All right. All right. Well, that's all I had. I just wanted to get you on the line here with him, Jeff, because I think that this would be really. Do you crunch the numbers? You're pretty good at the statistics and
I'm
science.
not a statistics person. Math was never my strong suit.
So who does
It's
that?
funny. I did a study. I don't know if you're familiar with Epiphany and Resilon.
Uh-huh.
It was like an endo product. It was
I remember Reslon. I used it a while once. I didn't like it.
well, Pentron had come out with the stuff,
Yeah.
and then they basically were going through this whole thing. And I was working with Martin Tropin at Pentron on this stuff. Well, they tried to sell the product to Dentsply. Dentsply turned around and said, no, we're not interested. Pentron said, fine. They launched it themselves. Then Dentsply wanted the price. They said, no, we're not giving you an exclusive now. So what they did was they sent something to somebody at University of Maryland, and I was teaching there part-time at the time. He ran some studies, and then they canceled the thing and sent a letter out to every dentist in the United States saying it's crappy material, it leaks.
Yeah.
So Pentron says to me, hey, find out who it is. I asked people in endo, they have no idea what I'm talking about. We have one material scientist there at the time. I talked to him. He says, come in and close the door. I went, okay. He said, he hands me pictures. He goes, they sent me endo treated teeth and they told me to run the 30-day study. 2 weeks into it, they contact me and say, how's it going? I go, this stuff is leaking like a sieve. Stop the study, mail us back the teeth. Well, he had x-rayed the teeth ahead of time. They were very poorly obturated teeth. It was set up to fail.
Mm-hmm.
So it was one of those things where it just gets a little crazy with some of these companies.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that's pretty nuts.
Let me give you my email. So, and then just shoot me an email with yours. It's Dr. Implants, DRIMPLANTS at AOL.com.
Okay. Good.
And where in Oregon are you?
In Hillsboro, right outside of Portland.
Okay, I have a cousin and her husband are in Portland or in that area.
Let me see your cat.
My cats are sleeping elsewhere.
Okay.
They're like pointing at the watch thing. Oh, wait a minute. Why haven't we gotten our treats tonight?
Okay.
That's
Greg and
typical
I are cat lovers.
I have 7 cats. So I'm a
Oh, wow.
cataholic.
Me too, man.
Okay.
You have cats?
Yeah, I have one named Leonard Skinner. I'm Jeff Skinner. So
I love it. I had one named Leroy one time. I loved it.
Leroy Downs.
Yeah. So anyway, that's pretty much it. So
Okay.
I think I'll send this recording to Dr. Martino, and we'll see where we go with this IRB and get going here. Looks like it's going to be a while before we get things into publication, depending on what you want. Jeff.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions?
I think index is the way to go, to try and get
yeah,
like to actually make it worth something.
Yeah.
So
peer review.
I agree with the 3 things you've described. I think probably would be better for an index publication.
All right.
So non-indexed, we can do probably just like 3 patients, right? Or maybe 5.
With non-index, you do just a couple. It's almost like a case series in a sense. You're describing something and here's the results. We had 3 patients or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You don't need to go into as much depth because they're not as picky with the non-indexed.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you, Greg. I appreciate the insight, and I'll get working on my end to see what I can do.
All right. Sounds great. You guys have a
later.
nice evening, and it's pouring here, so I'm going to bed.
See you later, Greg.
Sounds good, man.
He's on
Catch
East
you later.
Coast. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
So go ahead and leave if you want, Greg. I'm not going to spend any more time. I know you need to get some sleep too, so I'm going to let you go.
Yeah, I gotta get home.
You need me to help you with Atonia, let me know. I got him some circle rings. They arrived today. Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
I guess I want your help brainstorming just how to get them to actually come to Portland instead. Because they're like, is there any advantage to coming to Portland?
Of course, there's advantage to coming to Portland. They'll be able to see you, and you'll have your office, and the way you do things is going to be so much more efficient. And you're less likely to forget something. And then get to see Joe. I mean, Joe needs to be in this.
Oh, absolutely. Joe and you are partners. Like I
don't care if I make it, but I do know that you and Joe have to see him. Absolutely. Joe has to be in on this. And
Without a
if I
doubt.
can make it, I will. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna say, hey, I want to make sure that nothing's forgotten, and it's just so easy for you guys to fly in since you're flying private anyways.
You don't
There's a
have a
private
license
airport
in
a half
Nevada.
mile from my place.
Yeah, you don't have a license there, do you, in Idaho?
No,
No, well, you can't do it. Just tell them it's not, I can't do anything. I'd have to have a dentist there doing everything. I'd have to tell them what to do.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
yeah,
Just, I think you need to tell him no. I'll help
yeah,
you. All right.
awesome. Thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
just so starstruck, seeing, the guy that I've listened to and has changed my life so much.
Yeah.
And so it's just hard to say no to the guy,
I've been in a room with him before, and my wife has been in long conferences with him, and he's demanding, but he is reasonable.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
awesome.
All right. See you later.
See you, Rick. Thank you.
Good night, honey.